go. Welcome back into the Skooshi Sports podcast, your global sports recap. We are back. Whoa, just hit my microphone, but we are back. Yes, I was off last week with this podcast. Didn't really seem to be like a whole lot sort of happening, I guess, in the sporting world. I know what you'll be thinking. Hey, like, mate, the Skooshi, not Skooshi, the Winter Olympics were on Skooshi. Why weren't you reporting that? Honestly, I was watching here and there. It was overnight, obviously, here in Australia. And it's just like there's so much to cover, right? And it's not like I can be here and analyze every single athlete that was there and all the events going on. But also, we had a few key events. Some of them I definitely did watch. I did watch a bit of the ice hockey gold medal game. So shout out to the US getting the overtime win 2-1 in overtime. As I spoke about, over Canada, their arch rivals, their first gold medal since 1960, I believe. 1980 in the Winter Olympics in ice hockey, which is pretty epic. But just overall, not a whole lot sort of is happening, I guess, right now. Just a little bit of golf. Obviously, the World Cup is on. But I just wanted to leave it for a week. Obviously, get ready for the NRL season up and coming as well. But I am back to give you a global sports recap. Recapping all the sport that's happened, whether it's over the last week, over the weekend. Giving you all the latest news, my breakdown on it, and what I think of it as well. Gonna give you my women's player of the week, but I essentially did a reel about that a couple days ago when this is posted on my socials. So I will just be breaking that down a little bit more than what I did on my reel for you guys. And then we're going to touch a bit of the T20 World Cup that is happening in India and Sri Lanka at the moment. Touch on a bit of the Golf at Genesis Invitational, one of my favorite courses in the world, Riviera in LA. And then we're going to finish off with a bit of an NBA recap. So usually I do my NBA and NHL recap, but NHL is back I think it's back this Thursday, I believe. Obviously had a 3-week break due to the Olympics, so nothing to actually recap when it comes to hockey. We can kind of talk about it a bit, but my main thing is just wanted to mention USA beating Canada 2-1 in overtime in that gold medal game. But before I get into it, make sure you give this video a massive like and subscribe. So freaking close to 100 subscribers. You got there in the end. Just hit 400 followers on TikTok. Had one of my most viral reels go viral on Facebook over the weekend. Macassini's try in the NRL. Don't know if you saw it in the preseason. Now close to 1,000 followers on Facebook, which is pretty cool. But make sure to go check out all my socials there as well. But without further ado, let's get bloody stuck into it. Always start with my women's player of the week. And this week, it's going to be the women's players of the week. Because got to give these three ladies from the Australian Winter Olympic team a massive shout out for their achievements over the course of a couple weeks in Milano Cortina for the Winter Olympics. And Australia had their most successful Winter Olympics ever, which is pretty cool to see, right? A country that gets a tiny bit cold, it feels like, just for a few months a year. Obviously a bit more snow down south than where I am up here in Queensland, but still we have, like, Australians have less ability to resources, less ability to funding compared to the European and Scandinavian countries for sure. But the ability for Australia to rack up 6 medals during this Winter Olympics has them at the most successful Winter Olympics, 3 golds as well, which is pretty darn cool, including the first ever Australian to win 2 gold medals at the Winter Olympics, which is on this list as well. She's actually right there in the middle. I'll start with her, Jakara Anthony, in the dual moguls. This is like, when you watch this, and by the way, watching the Winter Olympics is freaking epic, by the way. Like if you're like, you watch a lot of these sports and you just think, oh my goodness, when you actually realize that so many of these sports are way more dangerous than like the Summer Olympic sports. Like, you compare your Summer Olympic sports, you've got a lot of your track events, which is not a lot of risk in them. A lot of the field events, not too much risk in them, where it's like, I guess, like your javelin, hammer throw, shot put, that kind of thing. Then you get, I guess, like, you know, you have like your gymnastics, or if you got like your running as well, like not too much risk, but gymnastics, there's a bit of risk. Anything can sort of go wrong there. Weightlifting, stuff can go wrong there, that sort of thing. Like, there's golf, there's going to be cricket, not too much really can go wrong there. But the Winter Olympics, it just feels like the majority of sports, something can go majorly wrong, whether it's the snowboard cross, whether it's the dual moguls, whether it's the aerials, like what these three ladies have achieved, whether it's the freaking ski jumping, whether it's the bobsled, the skeleton, the luge. feels like so much of this figure skating, any of this, the speed skating, just like one of them copped an absolute skate near the eye, which is pretty freaky to see. But man, so you got to give credit to a lot of these athletes. They have the balls to go out and do this sort of thing, week in and week out, compete at a high level for it. It's pretty freaking amazing. Um, and I just want to give, like, let's start with Jakara Anthony in the dual moguls. And you watch this event because like they go like bounce and bounce, 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 bounce. Like it just looks like ACL reconstruction like by 28 times. Honestly, it just looks like you just think of how crunched their knees are getting. And then they got to go up a jump and do a couple flips in the air. Then they got to go through another couple moguls and then like do another flip. And it's just like, holy dooly. And it's just like the dual moguls is when you're actually kind of racing someone next to you. You obviously got to have your style points as well, but you also got to generally finish at a quicker time than the opponent next to you. So there is like your individual moguls where it's just you on the slope, just you doing like your best run possible. But when it comes down to the dual moguls and like the gold medal sort of run, you're doing it by time to try and beat your opponent, and then also doing style like points as well, what you can do in the air. And Jakara Anthony has become the first Australian to ever win 2 Winter Olympic gold medals. Now, I may be wrong. I do not believe she did this in the dual moguls last time she got a gold. I think it was just the individual moguls. I'm happy to be corrected if I am wrong, but just a absolutely tremendous achievement there to get that, which is just absolutely outstanding. Like, I mean, 2 Winter Olympic gold medals, where a lot of these Winter Olympians just go there for the one event, and to now do it over across 2 Olympics, it's pretty bloody epic to be the best in the world at an event across 2 Olympics. It's just something to be super proud of and such a tremendous achievement. The next gold medal that we had was by Josie Bath in the snowboard cross, and the snowboard cross is freaking epic to watch as well. Like, it's just literally what you think. It's a snowboard race. Like, you think of kind of like your BMX races, but it's that, but snowboarding. And you generally have 4 at a time. You have your heats, and then you have like your quarterfinals and your semifinals and your finals. So she made it through the heat. She just, so to get through the quarterfinal, she just snuck in through the semifinal. I believe the top 2 go into the semifinal from the quarterfinals. And then she just snuck through in the semifinal to get into the final. So, 1, she was fortunate to get into the semi. 2, she was fortunate to get into the final. And then in the final, she's just kind of hanging around like middle of the pack halfway through. And then she made this brilliant inside move on a big turn, which really gave her some momentum and took the lead. And she just held onto it from there. Managed to get home in the straight by, what was it, maybe a snowboard length or so, maybe half a snowboard length. But just an absolute awesome win for Josie Bath. Such a good win on the snowboard cross. And pretty cool to know that an Australian is the fastest, I guess, snowboard in the world when it comes to racing. So such an achievement. Massive shout out to Josie Bath. And then Danielle Scott got a silver medal in the aerials. Now, the aerials is just like one person at a time, and you're literally going down a freaking slope that is just like so downhill, man. It must be so scary standing at the top as someone who wouldn't do it every single day. But to them, it's just like clockwork. They go down, they try and gain as much speed as they can. And then what they have to do is just one jump. They have to try and do like all these flips, kind of like gymnastics sort of style, when they go like for their final move, like off the high bar, and they try and do a lot of flips in the air and then try and land it right. And this is kind of similar to that. They go up the jump and they try and do all these like flips in the air, that sort of thing. They've got to try and land it on a downhill slope as well, and then finish off. So 1, the ability to gain speed. The 2, to be able to like do all your flips and stuff, kind of like a big dive, I guess, in a way. And then 3, to be able to land it and balance yourself and then keep going. It's just like freaking insane. It's not like when you land, you're stationary, you literally keep moving. It's super, super impressive. And she was one of the last to do her runs, and she got a silver medal. She was just ecstatic. If you go watch the videos, obviously she's like, a silver medal is awesome, but it's just such a cool achievement. You got to give a massive shout out to Danielle Scott and these 2 other ladies, Josie Bath and Jakara Anthony, for their achievements in Milan in the last 2 weeks. And I spoke about Australia's most successful Winter Olympics If you are watching on YouTube, you'll see the medal tally to the right. Australia did finish 14th in the standings, but I just want to show their medal tally down at the bottom there. Norway, United States, Netherlands, Italy, and Germany rounding out the top 5 there. Norway with 18 gold medals. So obviously you can tell like a lot of the top countries, they have that sort of climate so that they can have obviously the resources and ability to be able to sort of ski and snowboard a lot of the year round, and obviously a lot more funding. But for Australia to finish top 14 in the world at a Winter Olympics is a pretty darn good achievement. So massive shout out to is Australian women's Josie Bass, Jakara Anthony, and Danny L. Scott, my women's players of the week. All right, let's chat a bit about the T20 World Cup, because there's been plenty happening over the last couple weeks since it's been happening. When I did my last sports recap, the T20 World Cup had pretty much just gotten underway. A lot of the teams have pretty much just played one match. Now, all the pool matches are done. So how the format does work. So you have your 4 pools. If you are watching, obviously I have all the table results up there on the screen for you at the moment. But the top 2 from each pool then go into what they call like the Super 8s. So the Super 8 is obviously 8 best teams. It's then split into 2 groups, Group A and Group B, 2 groups of 4. I believe I'm not quite sure how the seeding is done, but then it's kind of like another round robin from there. So you play another 3 matches within your group, and then the top 2 from each group will then go into the semi-finals, and then obviously the winner of the semi-final go into the final. So by the time you go to the final, you're playing like I think 9 matches overall, which is a pretty crazy amount when you think about it. But it's T20 it's T20. Like obviously it's not a massive strenuous amount of cricket, but it's still a lot of cricket matches at the same time. But the main talking point has to be for sure is Australia not making out of the group stage, which is just massive news. Considering, honestly, their pool was not that tough. Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka, Ireland, and Oman in their group. Now, where they went wrong is they lost to Sri Lanka out the gate. And then they lost to Zimbabwe as well. So they're 0-2. And no matter, pretty much if they beat Ireland or Oman, they're always going to have to be relying on some other results within the group. And how they actually got knocked out is honestly pretty freaking hilarious. It came down to Zimbabwe and like Sri Lanka. I believe Sri Lanka needed to beat... Oh, sorry, excuse me. Ireland needed to beat Zimbabwe. And if Ireland beat Zimbabwe, then Australia was still in with a minor chance. What ended up happening was Ireland and Zimbabwe ended up getting rained out. So what happens when a match gets fully abandoned due to rain? Both teams just awarded a point. So Australia were 2 points behind Zimbabwe, or 1 win behind Zimbabwe at that point. So that meant Zimbabwe just got an automatic point, which put them straight through to the Super 8 and knocked out Australia. Pretty brutal way to go out, honestly, due to weather. But honestly, they only have themselves to blame. One, like a bit more in the camera here. 1, not selecting Steve Smith as part of the squad from the get-go. 2, when Mitch Marsh got injured, they had to give Steve Smith a call to fly freaking 11, 12 hours over to India. He didn't end up playing Sri Lanka. He had to, I don't believe he ended up even playing Zimbabwe. He ended up literally playing 2 matches that didn't even matter in the end. And just, I just feel like they kind of like didn't give a shit in the way. They're like kind of, why did I say fat and sassy? Like when it's similar to, I say like a team is on the high horse and then they come up to a next sort of cricketer tournament and they're just flat, coming off the high against the Ashes. And I get it's a different team, but just super disappointing from a nation that is, I believe, the defending champs and should well and truly be definitely making it through the group stage, but easily topping the group. They should be going 4-0 against Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka, Ireland, and Oman. For them to go 2-2 is majorly disappointing for Australia. One of the most embarrassing kind of tournaments you've ever seen from Australia in their cricketing history, really. I still some people say it's the most embarrassing moment ever in Australian cricket. I still think that's the sandpaper sort of debacle that they had. That's got to be the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened. But this is still pretty up there. It's not very good by Australia standards whatsoever. If you look in Pool A, out of India, Pakistan, USA, Netherlands, and Namibia, India and Pakistan made it through there. In Pool C, which featured West Indies, England, Scotland, Italy, and Nepal, West Indies went 4-0 in that group, and England went 3-1. These two teams made it out of that pool. And Pool D featured South Africa, New Zealand, Afghanistan, UAE, and Canada. And South Africa and New Zealand were able to make it out of that pool. So, from those 8 teams that I mentioned, as I said, that then went to the Super 8. So in Group 1, you've got West Indies, South Africa, India, and Zimbabwe. In Group 2, you've got England, New Zealand, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. So if you look at those sort of 2 groups, I'd be saying straight from the get-go, South Africa and India should be the 2 making it through from Group 1. And from Group 2... I'd be saying I'd want New Zealand to make it through, and then probably a toss-up between England and honestly Pakistan, really. So we've had 4 matches so far in the Super 8, literally got started a few days ago. The first one was Pakistan and New Zealand, which actually did get abandoned due to rain. So similar sort of format to the pool stage, they just both get awarded a point, which doesn't necessarily hurt them. Obviously, it would have been good for either team, like, gets more of an advantage if they win, of course, but doesn't help them, but doesn't hurt them, really. If they win out, like New Zealand go and beat England and Sri Lanka, they should get through. If they do lose one match, though, they may be in a little bit of trouble. So definitely key to win the last 2 matches. England in the same group played Sri Lanka a couple nights ago. England were a bit of trouble, honestly, at the start. I definitely thought they were in trouble. They ended up getting 9 for 146. Ended up completely bowling out Sri Lanka for 95 runs, winning by 51 runs, which is good for their net run rate, which it comes down to generally in the end, kind of like points difference that you see in footy. South Africa in India played a couple nights ago. South Africa 7 for 187. Ended up bowling India out for 111, winning by 76 runs. A very impressive win. Very, very good for their run rate. But that was top last night. West Indies and Zimbabwe. West Indies got 254 for 6, winning by 107 runs. A net run rate now of plus 5.35, which is massive. Absolutely massive. So it now comes down to a circumstance if West Indies beat South Africa, then West Indies will definitely be through, and India may be out, which is just completely wild. India were pretty heavy favourites to go and win this one. I think they were 270 pre-tournament to go win the whole thing. Pretty insane if India don't even get through to the semi-final on home turf in this one here. But honestly, I'd probably expect them to beat West Indies and Zimbabwe, which would put them on 4 points. And then depends what happens with South Africa and Zimbabwe and South Africa and West Indies. And then it will probably come down to run rate. That minus 3.8 by India run rate is really going to hurt them, I think. So, spoke about New Zealand. If they win their final 2 matches against England and Pakistan, they should actually probably top the group. They will top the group, and then just comes down to the other sort of matches in there. But if they do lose one, it does make it definitely very, very interesting. I believe the final is in about just less than 2 weeks. I think it's an early Monday morning here. I think it's on like the 9th of March, I want to say. I may be wrong there, but it's still about 2 weeks away. All right, dear, let's chat a bit about golf. This is honestly one of my favorite tournaments of the year, one of my favorite courses of all time as well. I have very, very good memories from when I was there. Have actually been to the Genesis before. One of my absolute highlights of life, absolute bucket list sort of stuff. And we saw, actually, let's give you a little breakdown of highlight of my life, like one of the best days of my life, right? Because growing up, I was a golfer. I'm not sure if any of your listeners know that, but Tiger Woods has always been my number one idol. Yeah, you've got like your Ricky Fowlers. I've liked Jordan Spieth, Adam Scotts, Cameron Smith, but Tiger has always just had this stranglehold on me, and someone I've just always looked up to when it came to golf, like a lot of other sort of junior golfers and golfers in general. And I was in America. I did actually attend college in the US in 2019. I was 2019. And I was based in just outside of LA as well. And I was very, very fortunate to attend the Saturday at the Genesis Invitational, or Genesis Open, I think it was back then. It just so happened to actually be like that tournament that the Thursday, the first round was like cancelled because of rain. So they had to try and fit in as many holes as they could on Friday. which they couldn't fit 36 holes on a Friday, so they had to try and finish their second rounds off on the Saturday morning, and then the cut would be decided after that second round, and then they'll tee off on the Saturday afternoon. Now, all I was dreaming of, thinking about, was watching Tiger. Got there bright and early. As soon as I got in the gate, Tiger was pretty much coming up his last hole, and he was right on the cut line, and I absolutely bolted it to the green. I banded my mates I was with, because I was like, I'm not missing this opportunity to go and see Tiger. If he misses a cut, because he's never won there before either. It's actually kind of a bogey course for him, and I just bolted it, absolutely bolted it to the ninth, because he started on the 10th tee that round. And I saw him coming up the fairway and then coming up to the green as well. I still have fond memories of it. And he birdied his last hole to essentially make the cut on the number. It was so freaking cool just to see Tiger in the flesh that close. But for him to make the cut, which means we'd see him tee off in the afternoon. In between him and teeing off, I got to meet so many players, got signatures. It was just so freaking cool. And then I was just like, with my mates, I was like, nah, we're watching no one else. Tiger Woods is like 10 shots back, right? Starting his third round. But the freaking crowd, man, him teeing off his first hole, which is the 10th hole, which is a really cool short par 4, was insane. Bigger than what the last group was, like the leaders. It was so freaking cool. And he started birdie, eagle, birdie. He was 5 under 3-4, and the roars, man. So the 13th, his fourth hole, when he sunk this birdie putt to go to 5 under 3-4, the roars, man. It was like a freaking zoo. It was just so cool. It was like, could not have pictured, asked for anything really better unless he was like in the lead. But for him to go and finally watch him for the first ever time in the flesh, and for him to start 5 under 3-4, and to properly, all those years watching in Australia, all those roars about Tiger, and just hear on TV and people just going apeshit, and to see that in person was just like absolute dream come true. And I think he ended up playing 9 holes. I think he finished like 6 under after 8 holes. It was just an absolute dream. One of the best days of life. The only time I've ever seen Tiger in the flesh. I got to fist bump him as well when he was walking through. It was just like I still literally have goosebumps thinking about now and videos of it, and I just went absolute apeshit when he was 5 under 3-4, and it was just a zoo, man. It's just like a footy stadium going nuts when a team scores a try, but on a golf course. And I just never imagined anything like it. It was just so freaking cool. Anyway, that is my story of seeing Tiger Woods live and what he ended up doing at this course. I have such fond memories, and it'll always be one of my favorite now because of it. But let's give a credit to the guy that actually won it this year, 7 years later. Jacob Bridgman, a guy that was in contention last week at Pebble Beach, so he's in red hot form. He went 66, 64, 64, 72 for 18 under to win by 1 shot. He actually had a 6-shot lead going into the last round of this tournament. He was 19 under to start the day. He tied the 54-hole scoring record at 19 under, as I spoke about, which is at that course. It is a freaking tough course. They set it up a little bit easier, I believe, and it was a tiny bit soft as well. But 19 under is still 19 under after 3 rounds. So that's 64 and 64 on Friday and Saturday. It's so freaking clutch, man. Third round, very similar to what Tiger did. He went on 10, 11, 12. He went birdie, eagle, birdie. Really good stretch from him. Really boosted his lead over McIlroy and Kitayama for his first career PGA Tour win. And what an absolute venue to do it. I think he collected $4 million USD in prize money for that win as well, which is freaking insane when you think about it. You see the leaderboard there on the right if you're watching. Kitayama and McIlroy finished 1 shot off. Adam Scotty had a final round 8 under, I think, to finish 4th at 16 under, 2 shots off. He's won there before. He absolutely loves that course. Potgardner 15 under, and then Jake Knapp 13 under there as well. But got a little bit squeezy bum time for Jacob Bridgman coming down the later holes there, but held on to win by 1 for his maiden PGA Tour win. And if you go look at the stats, he absolutely dominated the whole week. So SG that you see on the screen is strokes gained, which is like a data metric that a lot of tours use to decipher how certain players are going against the rest of the field. So strokes gained, he did putting against the field. He was ranked first. Strokes gained approach, which is irons into the green, first. I believe off the tee, he was first as well. Around the green, he was first. Strokes gained total, first. 56 out of 72 greens in regulation, missed 16 greens for the whole week. 75%, I believe that is, or just a bit over. Putts per green in regulation. So like how many like putts when he is putting for birdie first as well. So he's not just hitting a lot of greens, he was nailing a lot of birdie putts as well. Just a career week for Jacob Bridgman. Like, what a week to do it. A signature event. Tiger Woods handing you the trophy at the end because he hosts the tournament as well. So freaking cool, man. Massive shout out to Jacob Bridgman winning the Genesis Invitational there. All right, as I spoke about, probably a little bit a shorter episode there. Still got a little bit of a story time in there. Let's do a little bit of an NBA recap for you. Obviously, we did have our All-Star break in sort of the last couple of weeks as well. Hence why I didn't really do an episode last week as well. So the NBA resumed in Australia on the Friday morning here. So most teams have played about 3 games since the All-Star break. And I'll show you these standings after I just go through this little bit here. But 7 losses now separating the Celtics from the Sixers in the East. So the Celtics are second. The 76ers are 6th in the conference there. Does potentially look like that Jason Tatum may be back from his Achilles rupture in the next sort of couple weeks, which is very interesting. Boston are doing so freaking well despite not having in the whole year. Now sitting at $12 odds to go win it all, the 3rd best odds, which is insane with that their best player. Just 3 losses in the West Conference, so separating the Nuggets, who are, who are like sort of like 3rd/4th. Well, like the Rockets are there now from the Suns, who are 7th in the West. So very, very tight in the West. OKC and Spurs are quite a bit ahead now. I'll actually go through standings, but we always do our team of the week and our loser team of the week. So team of the week, it's got to be San Antonio Spurs. 9 wins in a row, 3-0 since the All-Star break. In absolutely fine form at the moment. Now 2.5 games behind OKC in the West. Now they could potentially have the opportunity to go have a number 1 seed shot. They're playing outstanding basketball at the moment. They've got a few wins on OKC in the last sort of 10 games. They're in absolutely fine form at the moment, unlike the Brooklyn Nets. Now, my loser of the week 2 weeks ago was Chicago Bulls, who had lost, I think, 3 in a row. They've still lost 9 in a row, but I honestly just felt bad that they would be the worst team in a row 2 episodes in a row. So I've done Brooklyn 0-3, 4 losses in a row, but their 3 losses since the All-Star break have been absolutely hideous. Let me just run through it with you quickly, because their losses since the All-Star break has been absolutely shocking. So they played Cleveland, they lost by 26. Then they played OKC, lost by 19. Then they played Atlanta and lost by 11. So 3 double-digit losses in a row. They are in absolutely shit form at the moment. They're looking bad, bad, bad with a capital B-A-D. All right, though, let's see if this works. I'm sure it will. Yeah, cool. So I've got the NBA standings up here. Let's run through it with you quickly. So as I spoke about, the Detroit Pistons now actually have a better record now than OKC. Same amount of losses. They're just 2 wins behind OKC there. But Boston, I said, playing so well. 8-2 in the last 10. 3 wins in a row since the All-Star break, with Jason Tatum still to come back. I think with the position that they're in now, I think that they'll look to bring Jason Tatum back for sure, obviously if he's 100%. The Knicks are playing pretty good, 7-3 in that last 10. They did get rocked by the Pistons, I believe, just after the All-Star break, but still hanging in like the top 4 seedings in the East there, same with the Cavs. I can't pick the Cavs, man. They obviously traded for James Harden in the trade deadline. Now 8-2 in the last 10, essentially, since they got him. Now back into that top 4 there. Felt like a couple weeks ago, they'll literally seeded 6 in the East, and I was talking them down, but now they've gone back up. Just the ups and downs of the NBA, really. You got Toronto, Sixers rounding out the top 6 there. But the Sixers are not playing that well at the moment. 5-5 in the last 10. And now you've got Miami and you've got Orlando right behind their tail to try and snag that 6th seed, which would take them, like, put Sixers into that play-in spot, having to fight to get into the playoffs. As per usual, obviously Miami there, but Atlanta always in the play-in. They will make the play-in, and then I don't know whether they win or don't. Like, they will just be in the play-in. Seems to be the same every year. Charlotte are now a game and a half ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks. Now 7-3 in their last 10. They were in absolute fine form. I think last episode I spoke about they're actually my team of the week. Game and a half ahead now of Milwaukee, just a half a game behind Atlanta now, so absolutely killing it. Then we spoke about these shit teams. I don't really need to speak about these teams. Like, look, is Chicago there? Lost 9 in a row in absolute crap form with the capital CRAP exclamation point. Into the West, OKC been at the top since the very get-go, 6-4 in their last 10. So they've dropped a few games here and there. SGA is out for a little bit. I think he's back in like a few days. He's just been out in the last week. What I actually wanted to speak about is the MVP race, because the MVP race is so interesting because the NBA has this stupid 65-game rule that the MVP has to play to be eligible. If you play less than 65 games, you become ineligible. Now, Jokic was out for about 15 or so games. I think if he misses, he's only allowed to miss one more game. If he misses 2, he becomes ineligible. Wembanyama's right on the border. SGA, if he misses like 6 or 7 more games, he becomes ineligible. So you become like, honestly, if there's something happens to SGA, you become in this really shitty situation for the NBA where the 2-3 best players in the league might not even get the MVP because they've just been injured for a little bit during the season. It's a crap rule. It's a dog shit rule, and they need to change it because you can still have your MVP play 60 games, honestly, and they'd be the best player all season. It's not rocket science. I don't know why they've got the 65 game or where that came from, if that's a certain percentage, but it needs to absolutely change. But anyway, back to the Western standings here. You'll see the Spurs are pretty close to OKC, 2.5 games behind, but they've got a bit of a bridge on the Nuggets and the Rockets. So 5.5 games ahead of them at the moment, who are 3rd and 4th, the Rockets and the Nuggets. Then you've got rounding out the top 6 on the pretty much the same record. You've got the Lakers and you've got the Timberwolves there. These two teams are very up and down. I don't know whether LeBron's playing good. Luka's not really playing that well at the moment. He's been injured. Again, might be ineligible for MVP, but I think his odds now prove that he probably can't win it. I think Cade Cunningham is only the realistic player in like the top 4 odds that has actually played, missed not a lot of games. But yeah, again, absolute crap rule. But it does look like when you look at these standings, pretty much the top 10 teams are pretty much decided that will be making the playoffs / play-ins, especially, I mean, there's 5.5 games now between the Clippers and the Grizzlies. The Clippers have been playing really well, and the Grizzlies have been playing really bad. Honestly, a few weeks ago, Clippers were way down, and the Grizzlies were way ahead in that play-in. Just amazing how quickly it can honestly change. And I'd be shocked now if the Clippers choke that away. I'll be saying that Portland probably has a better chance of missing the play-in now, but again, I'd be very, very shocked if that honestly happened. Those bottom 5 teams are just not playing good enough basketball to even be worthy of a play-in spot. What have we got now? They've played 56 to 58 games now. We've got about 26 games, 24 to 26 games left in the regular season. They would have to go on a serious run, the Grizzlies, to be any chance of making the playoff, but I just don't really see it. And it's really interesting spot for them because, like, do they go hard and try and make the play-in? Or, I mean, honestly, do you try and, like, I guess, tank away for draft picks? Like, you could go below Dallas, which gives you another better chance of draft pick. Like, and then you've got these crap teams. Like, you've got the Jazz, Pelicans, and the Kings. You've also got, like, the Pacers, Nets, and the Wizards, who are just looking pretty crap as well at the moment. So, honestly, the Grizzlies, you never want a team to tank because they're all pros, really, but again, like, you got to look to the future, and I think Ja Morant should be getting traded in this next offseason. I'm just shocked he hasn't already. It just really does honestly surprise me that he didn't, because I'm not sure what he's doing at the Grizzlies. I think he's too good to be at that team, and I think the Grizzlies just need a big rebuild, and they need to get a young star and a future star in them to really sort of rebuild again from that little player form that they had a few years ago. But that'll do it for me, guys. There is your NBA recap, and that is your global sports recap done in Dunskies for the week. Shout out to those 3 Australian Olympic Winter Olympians getting medals, 2 gold medals and a silver: Jakara Anthony, Josie Bath, and Danielle Scott. Then we went through our cricket recap, 2020 World Cup, and then shout out to Jacob Bridgman winning the Genesis Invitational, and then finishing off with our NBA recap, as I spoke about. Remember to go check out, if you're an NRL fan, man, we are so freaking close. 5 days away now from the Vegas games. Before this, recorded this, I just recorded my TLT reaction, giving you my live reaction to the team list and how they are looking for the 4 Vegas teams heading into this weekend. So make sure you go check that out. Make sure you go check out my Supercoach content as well. It's all there. Plenty. I appreciate the support so much. Make sure you go follow my socials. I'll see you next week. And cheers.